Are you looking to optimize your recovery? Well, we are too, all the time. But if you're struggling to recover for your next workout, you might want to rethink your process. Ditch the boots, put the foam roller away. Because if you're prioritizing these things and not your sleep, your nutrition, your hydration, and your rest between your workouts, then you're missing the recovery boat entirely. My first priority in recovery is sleep. Always, forever, full stop. Sleep is when our body does most of its repair work from the damage that's been done in the days prior. If we're not sleeping well, we're automatically twice as likely to injure ourselves, almost no matter our sport. So, sleep is the most important thing to recover from each and every workout. That means we need to be aiming for 7 to 9 hours a night as an adult. That doesn't mean 7 hours in bed, that means 7 hours asleep. And the most consistent thing that folks miss is a routine. So let's talk about routine. This is the number one thing that people struggle with when they're not sleeping well. The main thing I hear is that there's not a consistent bedtime. And usually, when there's not a consistent bedtime, then usually things down here before bedtime are all out of whack and things are very irregular. The first thing to target in a sleep routine is trying to go to bed around the same time most or all nights of the week. Now, of course, life changes, things fluctuate, there are family schedules, work schedules, events, and things of that nature. We get that. But what we're really targeting is consistency more than anything. You don't want to go to bed at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday and then 11 p.m. on a Wednesday and then back at 9 p.m. and toggle back and forth. What you want to do is understand your schedule and reverse engineer from what needs to happen the next morning. So, say the next morning you have a scheduled 7 a.m. workout. Well, you probably want to be awake and up and at it a little bit before that workout. So let's say, for instance, then that you want to wake up at 6 a.m., have some coffee, put a little food in your stomach, that sort of thing, and then get your stuff ready and get out the door so you can get to your workout on time. Okay? If we're waking up at 6 a.m. and we're suggesting an absolute minimum of 7 hours of sleep, reminder, not 7 hours in bed, but 7 hours of sleep, then you need to be asleep, not just head on the pillow, by 11 p.m. If you're going to be asleep by 11 p.m., then you probably need to be doing some prep work by about 10:30. Prep work meaning brush your teeth, do your nighttime routine, maybe a little reading or relaxation stuff, whatever it is you do to ramp down from your day. That does not include doom scrolling through your phone or watching a show because screens draw our attention, they liven our brain up, and that's the last thing you want to do right before you go to bed. So, that half hour before you go to bed needs to be calming, routine, things you don't really have to think about at all, and things that you don't have to process for. So, you can make that last 30 minutes before you go to bed look like whatever you want. But it really should be very low key stuff, things you don't have to critically think for or process much for at all. All right. So if we're going to start that wind down routine at 10:30, that means around 10, screens are off. Our work for the day is done. I know a lot of folks take work home or they're doing work after they get home. Do your absolute best to put it away by 10 p.m. Because guess what? Usually, in most fields, if something isn't done by 10 p.m., it's not going to be a problem by 7 a.m. Okay? Now, I understand there are exceptions, but usually that's not the routine. So put your work away put the hard, heavy hitting things away, because usually nothing's going to change between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. when you wake up. Okay? So use this as a general structure for your routine. Reverse engineer the problem. Whenever you need to wake up to get things going for your day, subtract the number of hours that you need to be sleeping. Not the hours you want to be sleeping, but the hours you actually need. Because some people need 7, some people need 8, some people need 9. And do things to help support that sleep, like structured breathing, taking magnesium, and things like that can help decrease your cortisol that stacks up during the day. So, hopefully by now, you understand. Sleep is at the top of the list for recovery. That doesn't mean that foam rollers and boots aren't valuable, because they can definitely be helpful. But if you're placing things like boots and foam rollers and massage guns and things like this above your sleep, your nutrition, your hydration, then you are missing the recovery boat entirely. And it's not a wonder why you might be more likely to be injured than the person who is sleeping well. What I encourage folks to do is to take an honest look at their training week. Map it out. What do things look like from Sunday to Saturday? When you map it out, where are your opportunities for recovery? And how are you structuring those days? Are they all high intensity, or do you have multiple high intensity days in a row? Or are you toggling back and forth between high intensity and low intensity? This way, you can start to structure your recovery and your sleep more readily. What I encourage athletes to do is to take an honest look at their sleep routine. Start with developing a routine first, especially if you know your training schedule. If you know when on the clock those workouts are going to happen, then you can reverse engineer from there what your sleep needs to look like, what your routine should look like. Be honest with your routine and be as consistent as life allows. That consistency in that routine will go much further in keeping you injury free than any foam roller, any boots, any massage gun ever will.